Oh, that's right. Okay, guys, sorry about the hiccup. What's up, YouTube? HPJ here, and I am back redoing my last Harpy deck profile because I know there were some issues with it, mainly because I yawned through the video, and I do apologize. So I want to try to get through this variation of it as much as possible. So, pretty much what the original video is, and today what this video is, it's pretty much just a um, variation of harpies that do not include elegant egotist or any monster that has the text. This card's name is always treated as Harpy Lady. So there's no Harpy Lady 1, 2, 3, Cyber Harpy Lady, Vanilla Harpy Lady. There isn't even Harpy Lady Sisters in it, and there's no elegant egotist. Now, for the last month, I did a lot of observation, did a lot of construction, and even asked a lot of players, well, is it viable? Can you build a Harpy Lady deck that doesn't consist of two of its main setup cards for a lot of the extended plays? Although these cards are very old, when some people prefer to use more of the new material of the Harpy archetype. The original setup, honestly, just is so much of a more consistent set for Harpies. You know, even if you don't include the Harpy Lady sisters, having access to the Harpy Ladies 1, 2, and 3, or at least the variation of those monsters who are always Harpy Lady, does help get a lot more of the surface of Link and Exceed plays going. So I'll show you guys the variation of the deck once again. But this time I did add a few more cards to it. Took a couple cards out just to synergize the deck itself. So without further ado, let's get started. I know the deck itself is actually up there, but we're going to start off with the monster lineup. And the monster lineup is the 3 copies of Harpy Perfumer, followed by the 3 copies of Harpy Channeler. Then there's 3 copies of Harpy Harpist. Following that is 1 copy each of Harpy Oracle, Harpy Dancer, and Harpy Queen. Then there's 1 Pet Dragon, 2 Iron Dragon Tomation, and 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. So that is it for the monsters. We move on to the spells. There's 3 copies of Hysteric Sign, followed by the 2 copies of Harpy's Hunting Ground, 2 copies of Alluring Mirror Split, 1 copy of Harpy's Feather Rest, 2 copies of Swallow's Nest, 2 copies of Phalanx Pike, and a copy of Monster Reborn. So that is it for the spells. And then for the trap cards, I'm running 3 copies of Harpy's Featherstorm, 2 copies of Hysteric Party, 2 copies of Powerful Rebirth, and 2 copies of Infinity Impermanence. So hold on, let me make sure you guys can see all 9 of those. Alright, and that is it for the main deck. There's a total of 40 cards in total. Then we move on to the extra. So just give me 1 second for that. Alright, and the extra that consists of the 2 copies of Harpy Conductor, the 1 copy of Great Fly, and the 1 copy of Thurl Sword Dragon. Then it consists of 1 Harpy's Pet Phantasmal Dragon, 1 Lightning Chidori, 1 Castell, 1 Ice Beast Zero Fine, 1 Abyss Dweller, 1 Mega Fan Beast Draco Sack, 1 Big Eye, 1 Utopia, Utopia Ray, Utopia the Lightning, and Harmonizing Gerdelia. I think her name is Grandella. I cannot always. I honestly trying to pronounce a lot of cards' names in Yu-Gi-Oh has never been an easy thing for me. But that is pretty much it for both the main and the extra deck. So now, how this deck itself came to be was I was looking through the comment section of another deck profile for Harpies, and I ended up seeing very long, strenuous comment. And in the comment, it says that the person themselves explained they don't run Ellie are the Harpy Lady-esque monsters. And I just gradually asked for a deck list. Sadly enough, at the time of this recording, I still didn't receive a deck list. So I don't know exactly what build or what variation of the build that they built to build the deck, sadly enough. So I'm not gonna push it. The only issue is that I want to at least test and see the theory itself. The deck, if I was to grade it, honestly, I'd give it a six. And the only reason why I give it a six is just because of the fact that it doesn't incorporate enough of its own stability in a general sense of the idea. If the idea is to play Harpies to accelerate the flow of the deck, then you shouldn't take out the two cards or any of the series of cards that helps flow it. Because a lot of people did agree with me, running without Alienesis or Harpie Lady 1 is a very bad idea, because these two cards, in a sense, speed up the special summoning. Even when you see in a lot of the decks during what was it? The two decks that topped in Europe during the summer. That was it. I think it was both of the WCQs. It was WCQ and the regionals. You clearly seen that it was a lot more prevalent that the Harpy Lady extenders, as these two are, were prominent in the deck, and that the deck itself still kept itself going, even in their variation of the build. So, with that said, at that point, my three biggest hits for the deck, of course, were Chandler, the Conductor, and Chandler, Perfumer, and Harpist. Harpist is able to search for a lot of the key pieces in the Harpy deck. She searches for Chandler and Perfumer, which are her bigger targets, because they have 15 or less attack. They're level 4 winged beasts. Also, in that extent, you still had access to Dancer and Oracle to be searched for, with Harpist's effect. The other effect Harpies has, of course, is then when she's normal summoned to bounce. Oh, another winged beast you control, and the face-up monster your opponent controls. That way you have a way of clearing the board. Chandler is your big summon. You discard a Harpy card, self-summon a Harpy monster to the field. When in the case of dragons, if you control a dragon-type monster, level changes from 4 to 7. And the fact that, she is the summoner monk to the Harpy archetype. Perfumer is your searcher for any of your spells and traps that specifically list the Harpy Lady Sisters in its text. She still is one of the most prominent of the Harpy cards, and still a lot of people love to run her at 3 because it gives you that opportunity to search for hunting grounds, search for um, alluring mirror split, search for feathergrass, and still keep a lot of the prevalent setup going. So if you do control that level 7 or higher Harpy monster, which this deck does try to play on that factor of, even without the Harpy Lady Sisters, that you can still at least get to a large portion of your cards without having to sacrifice so much for it. And at least they're not your deck in the same process, because you do have Oracle to recover, you have Queen for her assistance as well, and you have, of course, Hysteric Sign. So now that we got the big 3 out of the way, we can move on to the others, and that's Oracle, Dancer, and Queen. So Queen, of course, as we know, she is the highest attacked level 4 Harpy monster, still in the archetype. She discards herself to add Harpy's Hunting Ground from your deck to your hand. And she is, of course, the first of the Harpy monsters to include the text. This monster's name becomes Harpy Lady while in the field in the graveyard. That was the key point to a lot of this, is because with the cards like Phalanx Pike, Swallow's Nest, you really try to get plays off of that as well. Which is why I said the extender of Elionesis and Harpy Lady 1 is still needed, because you still get that prevalence of the name Harpy Lady. So even under cards like Skill Drain and Effect Failure, you still have a monster on the field who is still always Harpy Lady, and that can still benefit from a lot of the other Harpy cards effects. Harpy Dancer, the once per turn, bounce a wind monster, get additional bonus on a wind monster. Sadly enough, she isn't as prevalent as she used to be because of the fact there isn't much back row being played. But a lot of people have been trying to incorporate multiples of her just because of the Conductor setup and the Harpist setup. In the Divine Wind setup. But I think a lot of people have dropped that already. Harpy Oracle. If you control a level 5 or higher Harpy monster, you can special summon her, and then during the turn she's no more special summon. At that end phase, you can search your graveyard for a spell trap with Harpy Lady Sisters in its text and add it to your hand. Which in my latest version that I'm testing out, I'm running double Oracle, and it actually does have a lot of great synergy with it. But sadly enough, just these are information the one-offs. So Then we move on from them. We gotta talk about the two dragons that I've added to the deck. Of course, the Ever Faithful Servant and Iron Dragon to Matan. So Iron Dragon to Matan is pretty much a good setup for boards. If there's three or more cards in the same column, you such summon him to that column, and he destroys everything in the column when he is successful summon. He can't be normal summoner set, which is not a problem there. But for the most part, you're using him to destroy stuff in the same column, and then he locks that column up till he leaves the board. So that way, if you set him up properly, you can put a link. You can put conductor where he is. If conductors are in the field, he'll be on the field. You destroy a spell and child card to protect her, so she can still stay on the board, and you can easily lock out your opponent from there, from the extra monster zone, or lock them out from using their other spell and trap zone. You can easily lock them out of the pendulum. Like, you can find a lot of ways to take advantage of Iron Dragon and keep your opponent at a way of there's no pendulum, there's no extra deck type of situation. Also to note, he does set up a lot of cards. He set up Hysteric Party. No, he set up Hysteric Sign with ease through its effect. And you combine it with Conductor. Conductor won't be destroyed if you destroy a spell card. And this is a quick effect. You can use this on your opponent's turn. So take advantage of that as you will. And then the Ever Faithful Servant, although he doesn't really have much to offer, Harpie Fed Dragon is just pretty much here to be a giant beat stick. And then give you the additional access to your rank 7 plays for being a rank 7 for being a level 7 monster. So incorporating him with Channeler. You have access to summoning him through Alluring Mirror Split in its secondary ability if you choose to use that setup, and just really take advantage of it being on the board. Tempest is not included in this deck because of the fact that Tempest would really hurt this deck more than help it. There isn't enough targets for Tempest to banish. Tempest's only real purpose is to be an extender to a rank 7 play, which I feel Dragon takes more advantage of a lot of the cards Harpies have access to now than, say, for instance, Tempest would. Because you still have to search out for Tempest, you still have to draw into Tempest, and at a point, it's just not going to be helpful as, quote, it may seem. So I'm going to move my dragons out of the way to talk about the hand trap of the deck, and of course that is the Ash Blossom in the Joyous Spring. Nothing really much negative or positive to say about her. It's a hand trap, and hand traps just tend to be flowy. So that is it for the Ash Blossom. We move on to the spell cards, and we do have to talk about the issue of Hysteric Sign. Because there's no Elegant Egotist, the main purpose of this card now is to be used as destruction material or discard material to help you during the end phase to search for spells and traps and monsters that have Harpie in their name. This is primarily you just want to go get Harpie's Feather Storm as fast as possible, and then replenish your hand with either Harpie Channeler, Harpie Harpist, or the various Harpie cards to extend Harpie plays during your turn or to set up for your turn. The issue that I have, honestly, is that Elegant Egotist was the extension of this card's effect because it allowed you to search for a card that honestly could not be searched unless you had Perfumer. And we didn't have Perfumer before, she was, confirmed for release and everything. And honestly, that just extended more plays than most people were saying, especially now because some people are starting to run 3 Elegant Eases to speed up the process to summon Harpies to the board, which can help in terms of certain situations, but also clogs up. Because if you don't draw a Harpy monster, but you draw 1 or 2 of those Elegant Eases, yeah, it does hurt. But for the most part, Sign does have its play out. It has its interactions with a lot of the cards in the deck. And it's still one of Harpie's biggest support cards. So we move on from Sign. And then we talk about Hunting Ground and Alluring Mirror Split and Harpie's Feather Rest. So all 3 of these cards can be searched by the effects of Harpie, Perfumer, and Oracle. 2 out of 3 can be searched for Hysteric Sign. Harpie's Hunting Ground just helps you clear out back row. Then the additional 200 attack and defense for all your wingy beasts on the board. The Alluring Mirror Split helps with the summoning of more Harpie monsters. You can take advantage of Dragon if this card is destroyed by your Harpie card effect or your opponent's card effect. To such summon a Harpie monster from your graveyard to the board. So at least you have that extended play of Dragon there. Then you have Harpie's Feather Rest. Now this card can really only works if you can help the setup to where you can summon a dragon, summon a high level harpy, or set up for the high level harpy. Otherwise, you could easily just take this card out the deck and then just put another stand in spell or stand in trap card. Or by that extension, you can even put another Iron Dragon if you wanted to and extend there. But I think just because of the fact that we have the access to Harpie's pet, we have the extended play for Channeler. It just helps keep that going. For the pot, well, for the draw two instead of draw one. Otherwise, it just helps replenish the deck of the Harpies. So you can search out for Chandler. You draw in the Chandler, search out for Chandler and Perfumer, who are pretty much your bigger targets, or to replenish the deck with Harpist, so that you can able to get her back into the groove, and then search for a lot of cards. You are restricted to win for the rest of the turn if you activate the card's effect, but that's pretty much fine at that point because you have a ton of access to win monsters. Especially now that we have access to, well, we've been confirmed of some more at this point in time. So, in terms of their Link monster, but yeah, it is actually a really good Link monster. But I'll get into that when I get the chance. Other than that, the other three spells are Monster Reborn for the plays that Reborn can give you, the Swallow's Nest, and Phalanx Pike. I really want to use Phalanx Pike next time around when Armory Call comes out because oh my god, that card's amazing with Phalanx Pike, especially considering the fact it's been so long since Harpies had a way to actually get to Phalanx Pike. And now that we have access to a card that can help us get access to it without having a lot of restrictions, we'll have access to it. And its Swallow's Nest is just a really good card. Just trade out a Harpie to put another Harpie on the board. And that can get them out of dodge of certain card effects or put other setup cards to help extend plays for setup cards. So that is it for all the spells. And then the traps for the most part. You have the infamous Harpie's Feather Storm to help you negate monster effects until the end of the turn. If you control a winged beast monster on the field to activate the card. Of course, if you have a Harpie monster on the field, you can drop this card from your hand. The only downside to this is we don't have Feather Duster, so that we could even get the Feather Duster effect off of it being destroyed while it's in our spell trap card zone by your opponent. So that is it for the Feather Storm. A must have at 3. The 3 ofs that are left are, of course, Hysteric Party, Powerful Rebirth, and Infinity Impervious. Infinity Impervious is just here to say if you don't have Effect Veiler, if you don't want to run Effect Veiler, you have some case of an Effect Veiler for this. You can drop this card in your hand if you control no cards. So it's a good card to open up good if you have it first turn. You have Powerful Rebirth and Hysteria Party for your extended plays to summon cards to the field. Powerful Rebirth is loved for a lot of plays just because of the fact that it increases the level of the monster it brings back if it's a level 4 or lower monster from the graveyard. And the great thing about that is if you bring off Perfumer off of this card's effect, then she's able to search for 2 cards instead of 1. If you get another Harpie Lady off of this card, and then you no more special summon Perfumer, then it'll give her additional effect. It'll give Harpie's Feather as its additional draw, and you can be able to special summon Harpie Oracle off of this card, off of the fact that there's a level 5 or higher Harpie monster. So you take advantage of a lot of those ranges. So we move on from the spells. We go on to the extra deck itself. I wanted to run 3, but I just at a point felt that the double conductor was just enough without having to do so much for a board that really just isn't going to do much for her. Because I'm not running too many extended plays as it is. But for the most part, Conductor is more of a defensive Harpie than she is an offensive Harpie. But she can be used on the offensive sense if you combine her with enough destruction cards. And in that way, you can blow up stuff your opponent controls, but still protect your Harpies from being destroyed. If you combine her with Harpie's pet, you get those extended plays as well. Then we have the Great Fly for the additional 500 attack, and then the recovery. We have, of course, we still have access to rank 4s and 5, rank 3s and 4s, possibly rank 5s, but Barrel Sword Dragon is still just an amazing setup monster for Harpies as well. Without too much time, of course, my access to rank 4s and rank 7s extends itself. So in terms of the rank 4s, we still have Phantasmal Dragon to be a defensive and offensive monster for the Harpy archetype. His ability to attack directly. We have Chidori and Castell to do removal of cards. We have Zero Fine to negate cards' effects, be a giant beat stick, and then have her take out things if needed. And Abyss Dweller for Graveyard. Then we have the Mecha Phantom Beast Drago Sack, one of the mini cards to extend for the rank 7 players. And he gives us tokens, so we can take advantage of those. We have, of course, Big Eye, which is another extender in the Snatch and Steal setup. We have the Utopia package to help with any of the cases of happening to deal with pretty much just beat sticks and having to deal with problematic cards, especially the fact that Utopia, the lightning can run into something and then nothing can be activated till after the damage step, and then he can detach material to make himself 5k. And then we have Gradella, so anything attached to Gradella will make her attribute the same attribute in addition to her own attribute. So because of dragon being wind, she can be wind, and then she won't be affected by wind's effects. And then she can detach a material to add a material to herself. And then if it's a monster, it'll become the same attribute as the monster attached to it. So you can take a lot of advantage of this, not just in Harpies, but like stuff like Mermail, because they run 7s. I mean, it's a lot of 7 decks you can just into it. Even some Dragon decks that run 7s as well. But that's pretty much it, you guys, for this deck profile. And let me know in the comment section what you guys think. Do you guys think it's still possible to run a Harpy deck without Elegant Egotist and Harpy Lady-esque monsters? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys next time. HPJ, signing out. Take care.